Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And we're live. Go ahead, Stu.
Okay, good afternoon, everyone. Nina, could you please do the roll call? Or Lynn, sorry.
Thank you. Thank you. Mr. Lack,
Here.
Mr. Zilli,
Here.
Mr. Feckety,
Here.
Mr. Munt,
Here.
Mayor Lynch,
Here.
Dr. Finley,
Here.
Okay, we have the approval of the minutes from April 23rd. Did everybody get a chance to look at those?
Yes, we have.
Yes.
If so,
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second the
Colin, was that a
motion.
motion?
Yeah.
Did you catch
Motion
that,
to approve,
Lynn?
Colin.
Lynn, did you catch that?
yes, Colin, and then Bill. Thank you.
Okay. We have a motion and a second. If there's no further discussion, please call the roll, Lynn.
Mr. Lack,
Yes.
Mr. Zilli,
Yes.
Mr. Feckety,
Yes.
Mr. Munt,
Yes.
Mayor Lynch,
Yes. We have the payment of claims. Has everyone had a chance to review the claims? If so, I will ask for a motion to approve.
So moved.
We have a
Second.
motion by Bill and a second. Who seconded that?
I did, Sue. Ralph.
Okay, Ralph, thank you. Is there any discussion on the claims? If not, Lynn, please call the roll.
Mr. Lack,
Yes.
Mr. Zilli, Mr. Zilli,
Yes.
Mr. Feckety,
Yes.
Mr. Munt,
Yes.
Mayor Lynch.
Yes. Do we have any reports from staff?
Mayor, if I could, this
Now-
is A.
Okay, go ahead, AJ. We lose our connection with AJ. AJ?
Well, that was about the shortest AJ presentation.
That was. Now, he can hear you, Dan. So, okay, we don't have any old business. We'll move to new business and hopefully AJ can get reconnected to us. We have the North Side Properties listing agent. AJ? Are you there, AJ?
Yes, I was cut off. I'm back.
Okay, we're-
If I could, Mayor, I would like to offer a little bit of a staff report.
okay,
I apologize for being cut off. I was about ready to speak and then that just happened. What
They
I
were all
would like,
making fun of you, AJ. I stuck up for you.
thank you, Dan. I
You're welcome.
appreciate that, bud. So, yesterday I sent an email message to the members of the Redevelopment Commission, talking a little bit about, what we had discussed in February when I made the presentation of the 2020 budget. And we spent some time, if you will recall, during that meeting, talking about developing a plan for the sale or some other use of redevelopment commission-owned property in the city. As we make our way through the items of new business today, these are some of those initial steps in terms of that plan. As I mentioned in the email correspondence I sent to the group yesterday, that again, this isn't the final plan, this is the beginning. And in that correspondence, I informed members of the commission in terms of what the staff is doing to rebuild files and to double and triple check where each of the properties stands, properties owned by the Redevelopment Commission, where they stand, and ultimately determine next steps for each of the parcels owned by the City Redevelopment Commission. Today, as we make our way to new business, we're going to spend some time talking about a listing agreement with Macaulay Bennett, and I believe Bill Rathjen is on the phone if members of the commission have any questions. And then we're also going to spend some time talking about Garrison School. I believe that we have some members of a small group that has been convening, talking about Garrison School. So in addition to Mayor Lynch, Commission Member Lack, Councilperson Gina Geis-Hurst is on the call as well. And I don't know if Shannon's made her way onto the call, but I believe she may be here with us as well. So we do have some special guests tonight, and Sonia may be on the call too. So we have some special guests with us tonight at the Redevelopment Commission meeting to listen to and if deemed appropriate by the commission, talk a little bit about what they foresee at Garrison School as we make our way forward. So I appreciate a few minutes of your time. Oh, and then lastly, I apologize. We're going to be opening quotes, hopefully for a couple different services out at Garrison. And then we also have an item of business on the agenda for an environmental survey. So with that, thank you for a few minutes of your time. And Mayor, thank you for the opportunity to provide this little report.
You're welcome, AJ. Moving on to new business 8.1, Northside Properties Listing Agent. If you want to talk about that, AJ, and if Bill has anything to say.
Yeah, so thank you. Included in the correspondence that was sent out by Lynn, immediately following the agenda, there is an agreement proposal submitted by Macaulay Bennett to list a couple properties that are owned by the City of Portage Redevelopment Commission within the Portage Northside development. For those of you familiar with the area, we're talking specifically about parcels A, which is at the southwest corner of Willow Creek Road and Burns Parkway, and development parcel E, which is at the southeast corner of the same intersection. That parcel extends all the way back toward 249 to the intersection of Burns Parkway and Waypoint. So what you have here is a listing agreement with Macaulay, similar in form to what the Redevelopment Commission had previously entered into with Macaulay and Bill Ratchin for the property on Melton Road. I would like to ask your approval tonight for this listing agreement, of course contingent on Dan's legal review of this document. And with that said, if there are any other questions, I may be able to help, but we have Bill Ratchin on the line from Macaulay Bennett if you have any specific questions as to what his services would be. Thank you.
Yeah, AJ, just a quick question. Do you know, I know it's only been 5 months that you've been with us, has the department marketed these before and we just saw no interest and now we're going with Macaulay, or have we not marketed them ourselves and we're just bringing in Macaulay to begin with?
I do not know the past marketing efforts that the city made with these two properties in the last 4+ years. Prior to, I have evidence that John Shepard, our previous director here at the Redevelopment Commission, did advertise these properties for sale. So we have made our way through that step of the process in terms of disposal of properties owned by the Redevelopment Commission. Bill Ratchin was kind enough to share that information with me that had been previously provided by Redevelopment Commission Director Colin Highlands. And so I believe that these two properties are able to be moved forward. But Colin, specifically to your question, in the last 4 years, I do not know as to whether or not the city did take an aggressive approach to market the two parcels in question.
Thank you, AJ.
Does anybody else have any questions or any questions for Bill?
On those two properties, I'm not commenting only because I'm not positively exactly where they're at, but there are some issues that are coming up that I have great interest in. And of course, the elementary school, Garrington Elementary, I spend a lot of time in that building, and I'll be glad to share my feelings on that when he gets to that portion. The two properties, so I'll find out more from AJ. I'm trying to get in touch with him. I was in touch with him yesterday, and I was over at the school yesterday, and we'll have more to say about it. I assure you, Sue, that you'll know that I'm around. I'm sorry for not being back for the last 2 or 3 months. I apologize for that.
Did we lose Sue?
I think we lost the mayor.
Well, that's not good.
Hey,
You can do
AJ,
this
and
without me. You can't do it without the mayor. I have
Bill
her.
and AJ, as long as you're on the phone, Route 20, the property that is the old Don's Motel that sold and closed last month, the month before, and I saw that they went through the variance process and that was approved to change, but then I saw that there's for sale signs up on it already, less than a month after we closed, I guess. Is there any backstory behind that that we should be aware of?
Bill, I don't know if you have any information, but I'll go first. Greg, I saw the same thing you did with the advertisement for resale of the 2 properties on Melton Road there. I have a phone call note from Eli, who we sold, the redevelopment commission sold that property to. I have not had a chance to connect with him, but it appears that he does have some questions about next steps for development of that property. But unfortunately, I haven't had a chance to connect with Eli at this point.
Okay.
Greg, do you have any more to say about that?
No.
I guess my question for Dan is, Dan, if they purchased it,
Yes.
they wanted to like flip it, is that perfectly legal?
Well, if they bought it, they own it, they can sell it. I mean, I haven't looked at the zoning stuff to see if that follows the land, if there was some contingencies built into that. I haven't seen that, but yeah, if they've closed, they own it, they can sell it.
I guess I do have a follow-up question. There is a building on that property. I think that we looked, the redevelopment looked at tearing it down last year, year before, and the property was sold with the building on it that's looks like it's severely damaged when they were moving out. Is that, I thought that was part of them buying it, that they were going to tear it down. If they're not going, if they're going to flip it, is that building just going to be an eyesore on 20 then?
Is that a
Is
question?
there any contract, Dan, that says that they agreed to tear the building down? Because if there is, then they're gonna have to, right?
Well, yeah, that question has 2 possible answers. And AJ, I'm going to ask you, I mean, if there's a dilapidated building and it's standing on there, we have the ability to go in and do certain things to have that building, raised and the problem rectified. But I'm wondering, AJ, was there anything in the zoning process they went through where they made references to removing that building, or any time frames or anything? Because I wasn't privy to those meetings.
Dan, my understanding, and commission members, my understanding is that the agreement that closed on the property included that they were to take down that building as part of the closing, because I understand that had an impact on the price that they paid for the first 6 acres that is encumbered by that property, formerly known as Dunes Den. So I believe that was a condition of sale that Bill Rastian from Macaulay had negotiated.
And Bill, maybe you can throw in on here. My question was more on the timing or the time frame. As part of that closing, did they have a specific time frame to remove the building? Do we know that? Well, maybe that question's for AJ, since Bill isn't chiming up.
Okay. I do not have the closing documents in front of me.
You guys, I've got, let me do this. I've got all the closing documents at my office. I'll go through all that and get answers to you. I don't have that committed to memory, that specific issue, but I'll take a look this afternoon, evening, and I'll get back to you guys.
Okay. I guess related to this property across from the Ameriplex, I'm fine with entering into agreement with Macaulay Bennett. So I would like to make a proposal to accept upon legal review.
We have a second?
Second.
We have a second by Colin. There's no further discussion. Lynn, would you call the roll?
Mr. Lack,
Yes.
Mr. Zilli,
Yes.
Mr. Feckety,
Yes.
Mr. Munt,
Yes.
Mayor Lynch.
Yes. Okay, item 8.2, electrical service connect quotes. AJ, would you please review that?
Yes, so again, making reference to the correspondence that was sent to the members yesterday, you know, the Garrettson School has been held here by the city's redevelopment commission for some time. The original discussion had been demolition. Over the course of the city's ownership of the property, we have had some vandalism, some, for lack of a better term, people coming into the property, removing copper, so on and so forth. We've had the basic vandalism of some broken windows and some graffiti within the building. As I stated, you know, we were going to need to spend some money in one of two ways as it relates to Garrettson School. We were going to board the building up. We were going to power the building so that we could light the building, and we were likely going to install security cameras to really serve all as deterrent to any additional vandalism at the property. You know, that is one approach. That for me, that is the negative approach. That's the approach of board it up and eventually we'll put together the resources to take the building down. Another approach, one that is contemplated here and in that email that I sent yesterday and is being discussed by a small group of folks right now, is to head in the other direction, to head in the positive direction. You'll know that when Garrettson School was used by the Portage Food Pantry, when Garrettson School was used by Portage Adult Ed, or subsequently NEO, New Vista High School, that the building was in use. There was little, if no, vandalism, and it was to various levels of probably opinion a benefit to that neighborhood. And so when the food pantry left and when NEO ultimately left, we were left with a vacant building in that part of our community. And so the thought is, instead of continuing down the negative path, would be to alter course, head in a positive direction, and instead of securitizing the building with plywood and security cameras and floodlights, to head in the other direction, which would be power up the school, fix the windows, begin cleaning the property up, and then ultimately beginning to look at opportunities that we as Portage has to reactivate that space and make it a community benefit how it once was, and I believe even better than it was. So the idea in terms of soliciting quotes, moving forward with Americo, which is the next several items of business on the agenda, was to go in the positive direction. As I mentioned previously to the members of the commission, we have Councilperson Hurst on the phone as well, and if Shannon has joined us, we have some people who have been participating in this small group discussion that are very much advocates for us heading in a new direction, a positive direction. I've had a member, obviously, as I mentioned, Mayor Sue's been part of those conversations. Greg Lack has been part of those conversations, and Bill Feckety and I had a very good conversation this morning. And as you heard earlier, Bill is really excited about, kind of sharing some of his thoughts on Garrettson School, what it means to him, and what it means to that part of our community. So we have several items here to work our way through. The first item then is, as the mayor mentioned, item 8.2, which is electrical service connection quotes. And if Sandy Kolb is on the phone, she is the one who received those quotes, and I would ask her to read those now.
Yes, I'm here. The first proposal, or the first quote we received, was from MCOR Higher Electric. They are located in Highland, Indiana, and their quote is for $28,000 even. Our second quote is from Continental Electric Company. They're located in Gary, Indiana, and their quote is for $39,867. Our third and final quote is from H&T Electrical Services. They are located in North Judson, Indiana, and their quote is for $18,890.
So, members of the commission, the Department of Planning and Community Development did solicit 4 electrical contractors. 3 of the 4 attended the site visit. The 4th electrical contractor was also on property. So we did solicit 4. And as you heard read aloud here this morning or this afternoon, it appears that H&T Electrical out of North Judson, Indiana, is provided the lowest quote of $18,890. The Redevelopment Commission's budget approved in February of this year does include a line item in Fund 406 for maintenance and repairs of properties owned by the Redevelopment Commission. The amount read aloud is covered by that budget, and if it's the pleasure of the commission, and if all documents are in order with legal review by Attorney Witten, it'd be the department's recommendation to approve the electrical service connection quote to H&T Electric in the amount of $18,890.
AJ, I guess my concern is that's a big spread in the quotes. I'm hoping that when Dan looks those over, that we're not missing something, and then somewhere down the line we get something added on.
My question is in the same direction. At 18, and I think the high was at about 36. What all
39.
are you expecting out of their work, AJ? Indoor, outdoor? You know, I don't want, after it's all done and we're going through the building and all of a sudden this doesn't work or that doesn't work. Well, that wasn't a part of a quote. I want to know how you're covering it. What all are you making sure it's getting all done?
Sandy, would you like to go through what the requirements of the quote was and the subsequent clarification that came as a result of the site visit, please?
Yes, of course. Our quote had a scope of work attached. Obviously, all of the people that were requested quotes from had the scope of work. It entails setting temporary electrical service, extending service from temporary service feed to the building's mechanical room, distributing service from building's mechanical room to interior and exterior fixtures, installing fixtures that we, the City of Portage, would supply to them. And everyone was required to attend a site visit on May 19th, which they did. At that time, they were able to walk through the building, see the conditions, see where everything was, and come up with questions. We did receive a few questions from one of our potential contractors, and they were supplied with answers to their questions shortly after this meeting. And from everybody received a copy of the questions and the answers, so I believe everybody should be on the same page as to what is required of them.
So I would like to add to that in the clarifying email to answer those questions, there were specific questions asked about the number of lights to be installed, in both interior and exterior. So very specific numbers were given to all the contractors. The City of Portage also provided in clarification to the questions asked how many linear feet of wire would need to be run to power the lights in question. So there's a very specific list of information. I would also point out to the commission here that this is not the full-on electrical service reconnect to this property. This is an electrical service reconnect to this property to bring back temporary service to the building, to turn the lights back on, and to assist in the redevelopment efforts of the building. We are in no position at this point in time to understand the full load that is going to be required of a redeveloped Garrison school, because we are way too soon in the process to know that. The efforts that are being done here are simple efforts to reconnect. That are simple efforts to bring power back into the building, to turn the lights on, and to provide all of the workers that will be working in the building in the future ease of access, both internally in the internal corridors, as well as a number of rooms located on the first and second floor of the section of the building that's off of Central Avenue, as well as the building and the one-story section that is along the west side of the building, as well as provide some light to the gymnasium section of the building that was formerly used by the Portage Food Pantry. It'll add power or light to the mechanical room where the electrical reconnect is going to. There is a very clear understanding as to what the expectations are, all the way down to the number of fixtures required to be reconnected as part of this project. In terms of the spread, they were all there. They all heard the same explanations while we were on property, and subsequently they all received responses to the questions. So they were all able to submit quotes, and these are all apples to apples. Again, we would defer to legal counsel on any final conclusion in terms of if everything is in order, but in terms of the department articulating what the expectations are of the electrical contractor, we believe we have been very clear, and we believe that because they've been on property, they very much understand the task at hand.
AJ, would that allow for any air conditioning unit to run in that building?
No, this entire electrical service is powered, is bringing enough. It's meant to bring light back to the building. It will also provide additional receptacles so that if we begin to need power tools and power equipment inside the building for cleanup or for any sort of demolition, that there will be portions of this building that are under that power. This does not reactivate HVAC or boiler equipment. None of that is contemplated right now. Again, the HVAC system has either been salvaged, is in disrepair and needs removal, and as we visited the building and the boiler room, the boilers have been salvaged by vandals or by break-in, and I do not know whether or not it's going to be prudent to move forward with the boilers that were in the building.
AJ, for the next 3 line items that we're dealing with new business related to Garrison, I think in my mind, it's going to take $500,000 to tear the building down. So our approach to this is basically putting some lighting energy back into the facility to buy us time to see if there's a repurpose available to the facility. I don't anticipate there's going to be $500,000 available to tear the facility down going forward anytime soon. So just being good stewards of the property, I think it makes sense for us to properly secure the building, illuminate it so it's not an eyesore, a vandalism hotspot in that neighborhood. So taking that all into consideration, I'd like to make a motion to accept the most responsive bidder after legal review.
I'll second. This is Colin.
We have a motion and a second. If there's no further discussion, Lynn, call the roll.
Mr. Lack,
Yes.
Mr. Zilli, Yes. Mr. Feckety?
Yes,
Mr. Munt?
Yes.
Mayor Lynch?
Yes. Okay, 8.3 is the glazing window repair quotes.
Unfortunately, this is going to be our first setback. We did not receive a glazing quote. We again followed the same procedure as articulated with the electrical service contractors. We held a site visit 2 days later on the Thursday. We did have one glazer attend that site visit. Subsequent to that meeting, additional information was provided to all parties involved, and clarification was distributed to those who were solicited for quotes. Knowing that we had at least one person who had attended the site meeting, we have in the last hour or so contacted that party. They indicated initially that they had not received our clarification. When we subsequently informed them that that clarification had been sent within 2 hours of our site visit, they went back, reviewed their records, made a determination that they did. Unfortunately, that information hadn't been passed on to the project manager who was working on the project. They expressed their disappointment that they didn't catch that. They did express that they would have liked to submit for this work. And with that said, right now we do not have anything to act on for business item 8.3.
Thank
AJ, if we get a price back from them and it falls within our small purchase guidelines, I think it's under 25,000 or 50,000. Is that something you can just go ahead with if the commission's all in agreement? If you should get a quote back from them within the next month or so.
Yeah, Greg, great question. Thanks for asking. Attorney Whitten, I would of course defer to you on that. What would your thoughts be there?
If it comes back and it's under 25,000, yes, I think you can proceed, AJ.
Okay.
I think we can.
So what? And again, I guess that would come with the consent of the commission. I can reach out to this party, ask them to submit, and if it's the pleasure of the commission and it is under 25,000 and it meets the legal review of Attorney Whitten, I would like to move in that direction if it's the pleasure of the commission.
AJ, you cut out. Are you talking about the glazing quotes?
Yes, I am.
Okay. What is the commission's pleasure?
This is strictly for window repair, right? And replacement.
So, if I could, there was a clarification email, Commissioner Feckety, that went out to all 4 of those firms solicited. It provided a specific count as to the numbers of windows that needed to be replaced.
Okay.
The windows to be replaced were all broken and damaged windows that are currently covered by plywood. It also included a reglazing of the windows that currently house window units, air conditioning units.
Yeah.
And on the first floor, in the 21 section on the east side of the building, there are 3 very low windows that we had proposed a plexiglass or a polyurethane clear piece of plastic versus glazing. And so that was also included in the quote or the solicitation for quotes. So it's mostly glazing. However, it did include several pieces of plexiglass or polyurethane for some of those first floor windows.
I mean, I'm fine. This is Colin. I'm fine if it's under the 25,000 small purchase policy just moving forward. I don't see any reason why we need to hold it up because of that.
I agree with Colin. There's no reason we can't move forward.
I'll
So
make a
we need-
motion to,
Bill, are you making a motion?
yes, I'm making a motion to move forward with it.
Okay. Do we have a second?
Second,
Is that you, Ralph?
yes.
Okay. We have a motion and a second. Did you get that, Lynn?
Yes, ma'am.
Could you call the
And
roll?
I assume, Madam Chairman, that's subject to my review.
Yes.
It's always subject to your review, Dan.
I know. I know.
We're not.
I have to
giving you
make
a-
myself look.
Okay, Lynn, would you call the roll?
Mr. Lack,
Yes.
Mr. Zilli,
Yes.
Mr. Feckety,
Yes,
Mr. Munt,
Yes.
Mayor Lynch.
Yes. Moving on to the environmental survey, Americo proposal. AJ?
Yes, thank you. As we were making our way through this, one of the first things that came up, I think, both in all of our heads was, what is the environmental status of the building? I believe that when Greg Lack, even a couple of months ago when we first spoke, this was one of the things we touched on. We went through the files again as we were building the files for all the properties that the Redevelopment Commission owns. I did run across the study that was prepared by Americo and delivered to Portage Township Schools. My thought in going forward was, as the study was a couple years old, I believe it was a 2016 study, I had reached out to Americo to solicit a professional services proposal to update that environmental study. As and then I set up a meeting to meet with John Blosky from Americo out on site. We walked through the building. It began to, he remembered being on property, but he went on to tell me that that previous study did not inspect all of the areas of the building. I asked him if he would be so kind as to expand his proposal to do a complete environmental study of all three sections of the building: the original 1921 section, the 55 addition that's off of Central Avenue, and the 64 addition on the west side of the building that includes the boiler room. So he added that. I also asked him if he would be kind enough to include in his proposal a study of lead-based paint. He did that. And then he did note that he did believe that there may be an underground storage tank on property that would have been used for heating oil back with the original section of the building, and possibly even the 1955 addition. John did make those modifications to his letter proposal, and that was submitted to you as part of your packet for this afternoon's meeting. I'm confident that the proposal covers the environmental review that would be required for this building in consult with John Blosky from Americo. You see his proposal includes an update of the asbestos survey. It includes some sampling, which he provides a not to exceed, which I think is very important when we're talking about a contract. He includes a service related to lead-based paint and some drafting to give us a little better understanding of square footage and to different parts of the building as to where these these matters we may find. I believe if I add all of that up, and I should have done this a little sooner, we're at 28. We add 1,000, and then 750, so we're at 38, 750. So it looks like we're at, and again, somebody's probably a lot quicker with math, but I believe we're at $4,550. That would be the top end of the amount, as I mentioned. Line item number 2 in terms of service is a not to exceed, and again, you see the fees associated with which each analysis that would be provided during the environmental inspection. So again, the department's reviewed this in consult with John Blosky from Americo. We again believe that the environmental review that would be provided by Americo is what we need. This proposal is funded in the approved redevelopment commission budget in Fund 407. I believe Fund 407 identified $10,000 for environmental survey of properties owned by the redevelopment commission. So this matter is budgeted for. It'd be my request that the commission accept this proposal again with Attorney Witten's review.
What is the commission's pleasure?
I'll make the motion to approve the contract under legal review.
I'll second.
We have a motion by Greg, seconded by Ralph. Move forward with the Americo proposal, given Dan's review. Attorney Witten. If there is no further questions, then Lynn, would you please call the roll?
Mr. Lack?
Yes.
Mr. Zilli?
Yes.
Mr. Fackety?
Yes.
Mr. Munt?
Yes.
Mayor Lynch?
Yes. So in item 9, any other business to come before the commission? I think AJ has something else to add.
I do. I believe all of the commission members are aware that the commission did close on the 12 plus acres of real estate on US 20 Melton Road, and that closing was a week or so ago, maybe more than that now. And that we have a land sale and some additional proceeds that came into the redevelopment commission coffers. You'll recall earlier in the meeting when the claims were paid that one of the items included a repayment of the temp loan that the redevelopment commission moved from the Fund 407 to Fund 406. So we're all squared away there. We also have so now with some of these additional dollars paying the 407 fund back, you'll recall again that back in February of this year, we talked about a number of things that were really severely underfunded in that meeting. We talked about line items that if additional funds would become available, that it would be great to see those line items receive additional funding. But the purpose of this specific request has to do with the pretty significant cut we made to the lawn care and snow removal contracts in and around the city. You will recall that the previous year, just on the redevelopment commission side, we had a contract amount for over $140,000 for lawn care and snow removal. The 2020 approved budget included $50,000, and that $50,000 budgeted was really meant to cover the last 3 months of the standing contract, because those payments were basically, the total sum of the contract divided by 12 months. And then we believed at the time we were going to have some monies left over to help deal with a limited parts of the landscape that we have in and around the city that couldn't be taken on by folks over at General Services or at the Parks Department. I mentioned last month, and you've heard it a couple times now, that what we didn't expect were some of the unpaid claims from 2019, and that basically spent that budgeted amount of $50,000 to zero, and I believe we even might have slipped into the negative. With the additional proceeds that came into the Redevelopment Commission for the sale of the property on Melton Road, I would like to ask your consideration to move some of those unappropriated dollars into lawn care and snow removal. That would be Fund 406, Property Management, Lawn Care, Snow Removal. And then specifically, I would like to ask your consideration today, so to move quickly on this, your consideration of holding a special meeting on Thursday, June 11th, to award or open and hopefully award quotes for landscape or lawn care and snow removal services based on us being able to quickly get out a quote to these lawn care and landscape service providers that we had previously solicited. So my request here, very long-winded, and I apologize, would be seeking your consideration to hold a special meeting on Thursday, June 11th, for the purposes of opening up quotes for lawn care services.
AJ, could we do that online?
I don't think so.
Again, deferring to Attorney Whitten, if he believes that's the best course of action, I believe we can.
I don't think that governor's executive order extends that far out. I think it expires on the 3rd, doesn't it? With respect to remote meetings, I think after that we have to be there.
If we're going to appropriate more money in the area of lawn care, how about a part of that money that we're appropriate is a start on the cleanup of the property?
Commissioner Feckety,
Darrington Elementary.
Commissioner Feckety, I believe that there's a couple areas within the approved 2020 budget that I would immediately like to seek the Redevelopment Commission's consideration on. And I believe that there may be some additional places we would like to supplement the budget and add some dollars to some of those line items. I would also caution, and I know you all know this, but the more money that we can carry into 2021 is very important. We need to start the year in a better cash position than we did this year. So what I would like to do, Commissioner Feckety and commissioners, would be to move on this one because it's but allow me please the month to review the 2020 budget, to truly dive in to different line items where additional dollars may be needed, and again keeping in mind that I'm going to do the best I can, with help, of course, from all of you, to make sure that we're carrying over a very significant sum of money into 2021.
So are you just seeking a motion to solicit quotations then? said.
Greg, we've previously received that approval of the commission. Why I'm seeking your consideration of the June 11th special meeting so that we can include that in that new solicitation of quotes. And I'm requesting a special meeting because at this point in the season, every week counts.
Okay.
So would everybody be available on June 11th? We would be down at the police station. If you want to do 4 o'clock, if there's a better time, it'll be fairly brief. But in order to move this forward, we're going to have to do that.
That works for me.
I'll be there.
I'll be there.
So are you saying 4 o'clock works for everyone?
Yep.
Yes.
Yep.
Okay. So 4 o'clock on Thursday, June the 11th, a special meeting to approve the quotes for lawn care and snow removal. Well, it's actually lawn care. So if there are no questions, Lynn,
We need a motion,
can
Mayor.
you?
Move to
Oh,
approve.
I'm sorry, Lynn.
That's okay.
Motion by Bill.
Second.
We have a second by Ralph. Lynn, call the roll, please.
Mr. Lack,
Yes.
Mr. Zilli,
Yes.
Mr. Feckety,
Yes.
Mr. Munt,
Yes.
Mayor Lynch.
Yes. AJ, do you have any other business to bring to the commission, or does anyone else on the commission?
If I could, Mayor, if I could, thank you for this. I think I said in the email correspondence I sent, I sense a lot more excitement about moving in a positive forward direction at Garrison. So I appreciate all of your support today. We all acknowledge that there's going to be a lot of work ahead. And those folks that are early participants in the small group understand that. So I appreciate this immediate support. I think it's going to mean the world to that part of our community. But acknowledging we have a lot of work ahead. It's clear that this is going to be phased. It's going to take time. But I do believe, though, that this is a very good direction and something that's going to be received well, and is going to have a massive impact, a massive positive impact. And I know that just initially that this energy is going to become contagious, in a positive way, not in a COVID way. So I truly appreciate your support, and on behalf of it, just thank you.
AJ, concerning the Garrison building, have you any idea, any sense of what the participants involved in your early discussions would want to do with the building specifically?
Commissioner Munt, early conversations have really talked about, really energizing that building is, for lack of a better description, a community center, a place to gather, a place to offer programming, programming for youth and so on and so forth, but as well as other age groups in our community. So the initial feedback and initial programming tend to be around, getting program in there to just energize the building, to turn the lights on and to make it the community asset it once was.
Thank you.
Mayor, I have one thing.
Okay.
Go ahead, Bill.
You mentioned the boiler room a couple times, which I think might end up being your greatest burden when it comes to that building. But I don't know if you're aware, working for the city in the maintenance department is a guy by the name of Terry. I don't know his last name, but he's got a great background with heating systems and not just forced air. because I hired him once to do some work for my sister-in-law who had, didn't have forced air. She had the old radiator and that type of thing. And I don't really remember what was in that building, but that's what might be. I know there's some boilers in there.
Commissioner Feckety, the gentleman you're referring to is Terry Ellis. Terry Ellis has been, he's been with me every step of the way here.
You're in good hands.
He and Robert Heckman have been a tremendous support to these initial conversations. But absolutely right, we've got a good one there.
Very good.
Mayor, I have one comment, if I could.
I think we've lost the mayor.
Well, then I guess I can comment away. So, one of you asked about the purchase agreement and the tear down on that property out there on 20. And I did find the purchase agreement that was signed last year, shade before our time, but it references the buyer accepting responsibility at their cost to demolish the existing structure, but there's not a time frame in that purchase agreement for them to do so. And then, but I will go back and see if anything came up during the rezone or the zoning requests where there was any time frame placed upon them, but not in the purchase agreement. So that answers part of your question, I hope.
Okay, sure.
That's it for me.
So how do we end it?
I feel so lost without our chairman.
Yeah, how do we end a meeting without the mayor? Right?
Thank you, not Pat.
I'll make a motion to end the meeting.
I'll second.
Sounds like there's a motion and a second on the floor. Lynn, you want to call the roll?
Mr. Lack,
Yes.
Mr. Zilli,
Yes.
Mr. Feckety,
Yes.
Mr. Munt,
Yes.
Mayor Lynch. Oops.
It sounds like we're done, folks.
Abstention.
Who made the second on the adjourn?
That was Colin.
That was me. It was Colin.
Colin, thank you.
Yep.
All right, well, it's kind of an anticlimactic end, but y'all have a nice evening.
All right. Good evening.
All right.
You too. Good night.
11.
Bye.
Bye-bye.